store, bro. Like, who gonna make me get out the store?
Oh wow.
I'm just there dropping something off. So I'm saying,
Damn,
I'm like, who gonna make me get out the store? Yeah, you know.
So that's
Are
crazy.
we on? Are
Yep.
we talking? Okay.
Why it seem like it's so easy to get black people fighting? I mean, it seems like black people
Oh,
they
that's
fight
dope.
for anything. Black people fight at church. My boy was just telling me. He said he was at church the other day, and a fight broke out in the parking lot of the church.
Between who?
It was some of the members, you know, because
Oh, wow.
one of the guys, he was in the parking lot. He was like, all the children. He said that's why all the children of the God broke. Children of the God, like God's children broke. And you know, my boy, his wife was like, you know what I mean? She took offense to it. You know what I mean? She took offense, and before you know it, like they going at it over religion.
In the
You know.
park, well, they should all be Christians. So why are they going at it over religion? If you at the church, you're a Christian, right?
Well, you know, religion is just like orthodox gang banging.
Okay.
Holy gang banging.
To some, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a divide and conquer concept, and when it's all said and done, the divide piece,
Mhm.
you know. I watched a documentary on it, I guess it was like the true history of religion, and it went back pretty far actually.
Yeah.
But it was a classic divide and conquer strategy.
What was the name of the documentary?
I don't know. I definitely have to tell you because I've seen it on YouTube. It was about an hour and 45 minutes long. I'll find out before we leave out of here which one it was. But it's like everybody want to be a part of something, but what they being a part of, somebody else kind of made up.
Right.
So you don't even know where the doctrine came from. You don't know what the
Yeah.
real, origin of it, right? And then you actually defending something that you really don't know the history behind it.
Well, and that's true because like history and religion goes hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Like when I think tell me any group that has been enslaved and dominated where the slave masters did not also have religion over those people. I can think of any groups where the slave master didn't also incorporate a religion for those for those slaves and subjects to participate in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. But when I look at religion, I personally believe like in the age we in right now, I really feel like people, especially me, I speak for myself, have to reevaluate their concepts on what religion is. Because some people say, it's extreme. Like some people will say like get rid of religion completely, and then some people they super religious. Mm-hmm. So it's like where's that middle ground, between it? But I think people need to just really reevaluate it because when you look at religion, it's just a belief that somebody has, and it's just followed up by like daily activity, supporting that belief.
Religion, in the terms of religion and divisiveness, then you have some people to say, okay, well, what I practice isn't a religion, it's a way of life. Or it's my status. Or it's this, that, and the other, Because I've seen situations where people might not have said that it was a religion, but, I've seen like more brothers get into it with Pan-Africanist brothers. You know what I'm saying? And both of them will say, well, I'm not practicing a religion. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
But they got the overall same goal. They both want,
right.
They want the same things.
Want the same thing, right? So I've seen cats up under the same umbrella, and it might be a sect, a different chamber. Mm-hmm. I've seen brothers who up under the Moorish umbrella in different sects going at it with each other. Brothers who up under the Pan-Africanist movement might have different philosophies. They're going at it. They saying, well, this branch is not the true branch, that branch, so it's the same thing with the people you were talking about in the parking lot at church on Sunday.
That make me think. That made me think about what Nelly Fuller was saying on his show. He was talking about how black people are so filled with poison that because we've been victims for so long, we've been traumatized and victimized for so long that when we get together, if there's no agenda for us, like positive agenda, that we immediately start basically taking out the harm on each other.
Find something to disagree about.
Well, I was looking at I think it was Corey's show, and they was talking about there was this last show, this dude that was actually on, I think Pimps Up Hoes Down or
Bishop
something.
Don Juan?
No, not him. It was
Pimp and Ken?
It was one of them. I can't
Okay.
remember that because he actually came on, and since they don't have lower thirds, you don't even, if you don't hear his name in the beginning,
Gotcha.
you really don't know who he is. But the point being is that they was talking about how since our ethnic background doesn't quote unquote have power, right?
Right,
To actually exercise it,
Right.
then the next thing that we have as a culture is to have domination over each other,
Over each other, yeah.
as opposed to exerting your power through
Yeah.
how other ethnic backgrounds do, as opposed to if you in a group, you want to have domination over the group that you in.
Yeah.
And I think that when that goes down, we missing the point. And it's like basically, I don't know how to explain it. It's like that's the only way that we can show our true power.
Right. It's like the big I, little you, when really we all in the same boat. And most of us just don't understand that. Well, most of us have clueless to realize we are in the same exact position. So it's like if we prisoners in a jail, and I'm you in this cell block, I'm right next to you. I'm no more powerful than you are, even if you got more food.
Well, we in the same boat. We just on different decks.
Right.
One person got more commissary than the other one.
Right. We going to the same place, or we in the same place.
And at the end of the day, and it's a human desire. I mean, it's natural. That's like, but people do that in relationships. Like that's why I tell women, like, stay away from. You got to be careful about dealing with broke dudes, because if a woman who's on her business, when she's dealing with a dude that don't have any money and his career is jacked up, he's going to eventually want to control something. If he can't control his money and his career, he finna try to control her. Good
Now, what if the brother's broke because he invested it into something?
That's not
Well,
even
that's
broke.
not broke.
That's
It's
not
not
broke.
broke,
That's
Right.
okay. I got you. You
know,
mean like no funds?
When
no
I say
ambition,
when I say
no
broke, I'm talking
skills?
about mentally broke.
Mentally broke. Okay.
Or not moving towards something
right.
or a goal that is of
Progressive,
his,
right.
just of his, and what he's moving toward may not be the same thing that somebody else moving toward, but that don't mean that it's less. I think what happens is that entrepreneur is become such a taboo to get involved in, meaning like people want to do it, but they feel like they can't do it, and I believe it's because they scared. They're scared of the unknown and all those different things, which I understand. But that's the way that you find yourself in most cases, or find out what it is that you like or don't like. And then the social part of it as well, being able to talk and articulate and socialize with each other, which means that you got to have some kind of respect for yourself and for others if you want to move that product or that service. So we are so out of practice to that, where we want to do things by ourselves. And most of the time, we've been taught to do things by ourselves. So when it comes to actually qualifying and quantifying what
Right.
you're actually doing, we was just talking about that earlier. It's like if people don't know what you're doing,
Right.
then you always got to tell them what you're doing, and most of the time convince them, as opposed to doing it the way you want to do it, and doing it to a certain end too. It's like, I'm doing this because I'm going to this step. Now, most women and or men may not see that, especially if you're in a relationship, but that's no here nor there. You can't even live off that. You have to have some self-worth yourself, basically is what I'm saying. And if you don't, then you're going to start being jealous of other people most of the time.
Well, that's why right now my major focus has really been on the youth. On with younger people, because a lot of these older folks, once they over 21, like really, like, some people can be changed. I mean, if they want it after 21, but for the most part, man, it's like you trying to push a square into a circle block. Like, these people, their minds are so been programmed to continue to do things the way that they've been doing it. And self-esteem, that's something. It's like you gotta do that as a child. Somebody has to instill that into you where you growing up and you're not afraid of competition. Like last night, I went to the hip hop concert and it was a breath of fresh air to see these Chicago artists. They was all supporting each other. It was mostly artists in the audience, but they weren't and they was in different lanes, but they weren't worried about, hey, I'm better than you, I need to shine. It was like man, if I blow up, we all together, so we all gonna move together. So let's just support each other. You know, we gonna go to each other's shows.
Yeah, the camaraderie. Right.
But these are also younger artists too.
Now you said sometime you gave women advice on who they're dating at the time. That can also apply to the men, like the friends you have in your circle, or women their women friends they have in their circle. So
That's true.
if you're around someone who's is your quote unquote broke, and no ambition, no goals, not working towards anything, it can be people in your family like that, that you have to separate yourself from. Otherwise it's going to be a drain on you. So yeah, that's a very good point.
I heard somebody say, I don't know how true it is. I was reading something on the internet and somebody backed it up, said Harriet Tubman had to kill her first husband. Because he was gonna tell a slave master on her that she was trying to escape.
We gotta look that up.
I'm not saying it's true. I don't know. I don't have the facts, but I'm saying I read an article and I heard a very credible source mention that. Now, guess what? I'm not saying it's factual, but what I am saying,
I know she left her first husband or something. I don't know if she killed him. I don't know if she left him dead.
Her first husband. They said her first husband. I was reading the facts on it. He died. When he died, they would claim. I read 2-3 different stories, and they all had different ways in which he died. It wasn't consistent,
right?
On what his cause of death was.
So, who was there to document that?
I think the point is that it's a bunch of Harriet Tubmans running around here now in today's time.
Right.
And men that's acting out Harriet Tubman where they wanting to get someplace.
Yeah.
And your better half is not your support system. Now, when I'm in support system, let's be real. 100% is 100%. Now, when you tell somebody what you're doing, they may not think of it as it's gonna work 100%.
Right.
But at least they like, you know what, go try it. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna, ridicule you for thinking that way or doing it or even attempting it. Yeah. And if you do have that where they are ridiculing you, then it's super hard to actually do it, especially if you laying down with them in your environment, period.
That's why any woman that I'm close with, especially if I sleep with her, she've already made a contribution to the church. You know what I mean? Before I even slept with her. Because she got to show her sacrifice that she's down. Because to me, it's almost like, me personally, I look at myself like I am a business or like a school, right? When people go to school, you got to invest student loans to go to that school. And when you invest in loans and grants, you respect the school more. You like, oh, I got my bachelor's degree. You like, even if your bachelor's degree ain't worth nothing, you know what I mean? You still think like it's worth a whole lot because you know what I mean? You've been programmed to think it's a lot, but you also put that investment up. And so same thing. I feel like if I'm with a woman, if she has not invested in any way within me at the beginning, before I've slept with her, I already know that she's not going to have as much respect for me. At least my experience has been that. So I make sure that they bring something to the table early.
Well, I think all of us have entrepreneurial spirits or businesses, and I think as time goes on, we need to actually.
I got to look too Macish.
No. I'm okay. Yeah, we can say anything. What I'm getting at is that I know what's common between the three of us is that we have that entrepreneurial bug.
You dig? Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think it stops there. Meaning any relationship to me is a business.
Indeed, definitely.
All right, so what does that mean exactly? That means that when you meet somebody, you can either acquire them, you can join forces with them, you can build alliances with them, y'all can build relationships or whatever.
They could be an asset or a liability.
All right, but we don't think of it that way. We think of it as what's in it for me most of the time. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you come in, which means that it's a one-way street now, it's not even the reciprocation of, give as you want to be given.
Right.
So what happens is that after we get burnt a couple of times in this business, I'm gonna
get you before you get me. Yeah.
Okay, so then you become so standoffish and so you're scared. Mm-hmm. Especially when we got businesses and time is going and you don't want to waste it. And now you got this person that ain't right for you because they're not even right for your business of life. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the business of, making money. If you're not putting in on this, because you know the value of if you put in it, you're gonna get something out.
And that's the key, knowing the value of it and knowing your value. That's very key.
You know, in business they say you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate up front. So you can kind of connect with someone and hope it's going to go this way, hope it's going to go that way. But I found that you got to, research, do a little background check on the person. If we have a lot of people in the community, they come out of nowhere, they say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and we might link up with them and based on what they said that they can do. And then you find out that everything they said that they can do or will do, they don't come through on it. So you have to, just kind of ask around to see, hey, is Jackson? How's Jackson? Do you know Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know brother? What kind of work are they? Do they keep their word? And if you're getting like crickets, that means they're not up to par.
That's why you get a lot of women, especially younger girls, be wanting to move out of state to start a new leaf. I was dating this girl. She kept telling me, she said, I want to move to Dallas. I said, why you want to go to Dallas? I just want a fresh start. And so I'm like, why she keep telling me she want a fresh start?
Right.
And I started researching her vagina miles.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And her name in the streets. And I understood, that her
you just Googled her name?
score was very low.
In the streets, okay.
Yeah, in the streets.
Okay.
But not just. I'm joking about researching the streets, but just being around her.
Somebody that we both know.
No, just being. You'll be amazed as a man. You'll be amazed on how much you will learn about a woman if you just really listen to her.
I know who you talking. I ain't know who you talking about. Right.
Just talk to her. Like sometimes with women, we'll meet them, and we just try to rush to get what we want so quickly. But sometimes at the beginning, just really sit down and have a real.
You don't know what you're rushing into, right?
And you will realize who you dealing with because she gonna be the same person a year from now. If you get pregnant, y'all have a baby, that's the same person that you first met.
You saying you can't, turn into something different? You can't.
Right.
Rehabilitate her.
It takes a lot of energy, but
saying there's no hope. Dr. Jackson, you the doctor. There's no hope.
Now, see, some things, it depends on the person. It really depends on the person. Some people are not coachable. Some people, and that's why you got to look at a person's childhood too, because some people are so traumatized and so hurt that they don't even allow you to help them. They don't even want because they're afraid. Like you said, they're afraid to get help and love because they think you're going to leave them.
But let's face it, y'all. Let's be honest, right? We really don't have no time to waste. That's what we're really getting at. When you talking to somebody, when you get to know somebody, either personal or business, you're not in the market of wasting time.
Right.
Nobody is.
Right.
Especially if you're self-employed and you trying to make ends meet and so on and so forth. When you meet a young lady, you want to make sure that they're going to add value to what you got going on at that point in time. So when you say that if she's the same way right now, that she's going to be the same way in a year, it differs. I think it differs because you can see the signs.
I'm not saying it's absolute.
You can see the signs.
People can change, but I'm saying for me, like I have a qualification process. So I'm a little different. Like I know I've been trained on how to qualify and get to get quickly. Like what it takes most people to learn in 6 months. I know how to get to that quickly to figure it out. That's all I'm saying when I say, it's certain stuff. If you know certain, not just questions to ask people, but just really watching their behavior. It's certain stuff that's gonna be certain people's flaws are consistent. There's patterns that people, that you can look out for. That's all I'm saying. But you are absolutely right. People can change, but some of them patterns, most of us, we don't look for. Or we see them and we ignore them because we want what we want.
So, who are y'all exactly?
Ghostface Killer.
There we go. Okay. Be whoever you want to be on Fresh Air Network.
Right. Now, JC 360, Justus 360. Check us out over at Culture Connection. You all know where it is, so you can check out the website. Just happy to be here with the brothers, so we can keep this pushing forward.
Yes, indeed. And I'm Dr. Jackson 360, all addicted to action, all about making things happen. And I just really, I just love supporting business owners, small business owners. That's what I do. We have a business, several different businesses. Work with Jay at Culture Connection. I also have my own coaching. We also have our own school, Business Bootcamp 360.com.
It's gonna launch real soon.
Yeah, we coach entrepreneurs on there. I also got a site where we support hairstylists. And that's super important, small businesses, because that's what has built America, and that's what's gonna save our nation. I mean, if we look at the difference between the black community in the 50s and before versus now, is we had small businesses as our foundation.
Yeah, we had to actually.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have to. It was kind of like we were put in a situation where we had to make a way for ourselves because nobody else was going to make a way. And that mean when the lottery came out, the numbers and all that stuff, all the inventions that were made back in that time, it was because they was like, look, y'all go make it happen for yourself. And we got together and we had to rely on each other. So,
So, brother, who are you? Tell us who you are.
I'm Mr. Ware. Yep. Got a couple of businesses. Opened up a podcast studio for the entrepreneurs called Fresh Air Network. Did the networking events for years. Some people may know me on that.
Okay.
But I just created a media outlet for this kind of opportunity, for us to talk, people to see us talk, know that it's intellectual conversations going on like this. It's individuals who have businesses separately that comes together to
Form
talk
like
about.
Voltron.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I'll form the head.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, that's who I am, and I appreciate you guys coming first of all. And I would like to have many more of these.
While we're talking about business, for whoever checks this out, we have Dr. Claude Anderson, black business guru, entrepreneur, one of America's most intellectual minds when it comes to business in general, not just black business. He'll be here November 19th at the Harold Washington Cultural Center. Okay. It's right on the corner of 47th and King Drive from 1 to 4. You can get your tickets on the website cultureconnection360.com, or you can just Google it and it'll pop up. So that's November 19th.
Yeah, and we also getting ready to run a Donald Trump campaign too.
Oh yeah, we got to raise them funds for
raise the funds, for the.
we kidding,
Right.
y'all.
Right.
We kidding. Just joking. All right. I wish we had a call-in audience to see who at this time. I wonder who people are voting for: Trump, Hillary, or it's a no-go for both of them.
It's like voting for Satan versus Lucifer for some people. That's what they say.
The lesser of the two evils.
Lesser of the two evils.
Yeah.
But then if you don't vote, they say, well, that's the most evil.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe next show we'll talk about that.
Well, you know what? Actually, we were
Is
going
it
to
work?
have I had a lady who I was invited today. She wasn't able to make it. But she's like one of the strategic political campaign managers for a lot of the like local politicians and regional politicians. And I had a conversation with her. Man, I really wanted her to come
What's her name?
today.
You remember?
Her name
it's okay. Continue.
is Jasmine Jones.
JJ.
I believe, yeah,
Okay.
JJ. Jasmine Jones. And she's super thorough. And I had a conversation with her, man. It was so interesting.
I thought you was gonna say Olivia Pope.
It's just super interesting. When she was telling me from the inside, because for a long time, I was kind of anti-politics to a certain extent. Like, is politics a good solution? And speaking with her, she kind of enlightened me a little bit on some of the good things that come from like being on the inside of politics, even though it's very corrupt, extremely corrupt inside out.
It's a dirty game, right?
Real dirty game. But
Why do you? I just had a thought. Why do you think it is? And then nothing can be like that unless the atmosphere and the environment calls for that.
I think it is because the politicians, they're not there because they just popped up there. They're there because they got financed by someone or a group to be there
For something.
So now you have people that are in office, politicians. They're bidding for certain things, for certain interests, for certain groups. So it's not like, okay, it's just a politician is unattached to anyone. No, they're there for a reason. It doesn't matter, if it's local, state, or on a national level. So, but like they say, a lot of people say all politics is local though. So I think we focus on what's going on locally, and at least vote in those elections. I think that's where the best good comes from. State and on a national level, I'm not sure. But I know locally, we can make an effect.
And I think we need to become more open to even knowing how the game works, the politics game work. And I'm saying that because as entrepreneurs in certain communities, you should know who your alderman is. And I'm just using that as an example only because your alderman is a person that knows what's coming into your community. Now, whether or not he or she is sharing it, at least you can go to him or her and find out what's going on, money-wise, TIF, all that kind of stuff. Also, learning what they control and what they don't control.
Right.
I had a friend, we actually opening up a business center. And one of the things that it's a private business center. So we, having entrepreneurs come together, and we made it private because of just what we're talking about here, is being around like-minded individual with the purpose behind it, and understand that purpose is for all of us. Like no one person is just going to get everything and nobody else. My point being is that my friend and I who was creating this, I said something about a certain alderman, and then he went back and said that, well, should we invite aldermen into this business, spectrum? She don't necessarily need to be a member, but should we have the ability to invite him or her to this? And I was saying yes. And he was saying, well, the reason why he even brought it up is because a friend of his who just opened up a business in this particular ward wanted to actually have something go down, and it was liquor. He wanted to have liquor in an area that didn't have liquor. So it wasn't a reason why he couldn't have it, but she decided not to give it to him. So here's the point. So he was like, well, if we tell this alderman to come, and this is one of our members, and he or she has had a bad experience with the alderman, does that help or does it hinder? And my argument is that if you got 40 people in your behind you that's in a certain neighborhood, that's power. So when you go to the alderman and it's just one of you as opposed to going and it's 40 of you, it's a different kind of feel that comes with it. And this is what we're talking about was the main reason why we was creating in the first place, is the synergy and the community service that we doing collectively to get things done. So we're not going at it by ourselves. And being around like-minded individuals. So I'm saying all this to say that if I didn't know that the alderman was the person who decides if I'm gonna have liquor in my business, and I done put X amount of money into this business and not knowing that I can't have it there, then is that good or is it bad? And I'm saying that we should at least know how the system works.
Yeah, be educated. Yeah, that's true.
Makes a lot of sense.
Whether or not we believe in it or we think it's a system. It's like playing chess. If you don't know how what the move of a rook is, then you liable to get it taken.
Well, I mean, that's just like how you have so many black people, that are really going hard on voting right now, on the national level, for the presidency. And a lot of them don't really understand politics. They're just voting out of tradition because, hey, we're supposed to vote. When my mama voted, they died for us to vote, so I'm just going to vote. And then they grow up thinking I'm supposed to be Democrat because I'm black.
With this election, it's like in regards to the choices, a lot of African Americans think, okay, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I vote for Hillary, I'm screwed. If I vote for Trump, I'm definitely screwed. But then you have Clintons who, a lot of us say put all these brothers in prison in the 90s with those whatever campaign they were doing back then. And we got Trump, and he's up front with his. So But I'm just curious to say, okay, now that Obama is pretty much out of office, what are we gonna say now? Because he's not gonna get better than that.
Like, what
with these
excuse
two.
we gonna give?
What excuse? You're not gonna get better. Neither one of those are better, in my opinion. So, but I guess we'll see.
Did you see Obama's speech? Did you hear this like one of his most recent he gave to the
That's
Black
why all
Caucus?
politics is local. Right? What did you say?
Did you hear Obama's speech to the Black Caucus?
No, what was that about?
Well, he was really he was speaking about how to black people, basically saying how they should, if they want to. He feels disrespected if they don't go out and vote, especially for Hillary.
Did he say black people or he said people?
He said people.
He said people, but he was talking to an all black caucus. So he was real, like his whole swag. I mean, if you haven't seen that, man, you gotta see that. It was so interesting. His vocal tone, everything was different. And what was interesting to me, first of all,
he know Hillary's in trouble. That's what that is.
In his whole 8 years in being a president, he's almost never spoke specifically on black issues. He never really brings up that or really gives the black community much attention. But now that he's leaving, it's just interesting to see how now he's talking to these black people, and he's coming from this perspective of like, you got to vote for Hillary. And to me, if really listening to it to me, it was sounding really shady, like on the political.
We can vote for Hillary or we can vote for Trump. Collectively, we just have to. What are we gonna get out of it? If we come together and we make donations to the campaign collectively, okay, Hillary, what are you gonna do for us? And Trump, what are you gonna do for us? Not just throwing your vote away because you think something different gonna happen with Trump, or you think something's better gonna happen with Hillary because she's a Democrat. So
and that's my point. There was no talk at all about policies and actually getting something specific done. It was all just symbolism. You should do it because we got this new museum that we're opening up.
Right.
Or you should
Hip, hip, hooray.
I told you to do it.
The best vote is with your dollar bills. So vote for yourself. Spend your money with your own, or the people that support your community. Or keep your money in your pocket and invest it wisely. That's the best vote. So you really voting every day wherever you spending your money at.
Good job.
That's
Good
a
job.
vote. So we got to think along them terms. Which goes back to people like Dr. Claude Anderson. Or brothers like Boyce Watkins, or anybody that's on that level that's talking along them lines. That's what we got to stay focused, because if you look at the Asian community, they say they have one of the lowest voter turnouts, if not the lowest in America. Mm-hmm. But their economic status is a lot,
Still
10 times
thriving.
better than ours.
Mm-hmm.
The money doesn't leave their community because they recycling the dollar within their community. So, they're not out there voting in huge numbers, and they're doing very well.
They got a much better, stronger, should I say? They got a much tighter. I don't know if you ever tried to date an Asian woman.
I've had one or two,
but they real man.
No,
they look, they don't just let you in the family unless you paying that bag. You got to be willing to drop that bag if you think you finna just marry one of them.
You can go fly over to Asia and bring one back.
You know what I think?
But you paying that bag too, though.
I think we so out of
That's what you
practice
own.
of creating accountability amongst each other, man.
I love the sisters. So.
You had to say that, right?
I love the sisters. Yeah, definitely. Hey.
Accountability is what I think that is that's been plaguing our culture, making people accountable for their words. Mm-hmm. We talking about politicians right now, right? But we also talking about the music that we listening to.
Tell me about it.
The fact that we accountable for making these stars the stars. We're accountable for what is hot on TV, the ratings. So if we don't create this accountability amongst ourselves, then there's no way that we can make politicians accountable, is my point. If we don't know how to do it amongst ourselves, to have a valuable understanding and or an example of what accountability is, then it's hard to make somebody else accountable or even know what accountability looks like. And I think that's why some of the